I'm Russ Rapp here talking about non-duality. My last video was a little bit convoluted, so I'm going to try to make this more succinct. There is a process of unknowing or unlearning as it relates to non-duality, but even that can make it more confusing. Essentially, it's when you stop believing your own BS, but it's not a requirement. Because what can happen when you think of non-duality as a process is that you take some of these ideas and they end up becoming another belief system or beliefs that you attach your thoughts to. And so when you think, okay, well, I'm acting as a person instead of a non-person, or I feel separate, or I feel a certain way, but I shouldn't feel that way because we are connected, and that sort of thing. Whatever that idea that you're attaching yourself to, it ends up being a way to add more stress to your life. And it's kind of ironic because the thing that is being judged, meaning your thoughts about your being separate and all that, is what's judging. So the thing is judging itself. So it's just more and more of the same, which that's the funny part, I guess, if you can look at it that way. But when it comes to going through the process, there's different ways that you can approach it. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there from Tony Parsons to Paul Hederman, Lisa Carnes, that do a good job at explaining the essence of non-duality. You can go to their retreats if you want to meet people in person, if that's something you're interested in doing. But like I said, none of this is a requirement. I went through a year of the Course in Miracles and went through that process where each day you kind of had an activity that you had to do, or you didn't have to do it, but activity that you would do each day to kind of loosen up the attachments that you have. It's kind of like the Enneagram, type 5, the spiritual, let's see here, what do they call it? Here's the book, Personality Types, Don Riso, Russ Hudson. Let me just look at this real quick. It's should have looked this up before. Self-actualization. This is riveting. I'm glad I'm doing this right now. But either way, you can look it up. It's kind of the spiritual truth of non-attachment that the 5 has, which I think relates a lot to non-duality, because non-duality in a lot of sense gets focused on the mind and the mental processes. And so, you go through the Course in Miracle process, and it can help you, as Paul Hederman would say, travel lighter. But what you end up learning is none of that matters. And you can think about it in this way, when you talk about the concept of space and time. When you're thinking about non-duality as a process, you're thinking about it over time, whether it's taking a year to learn A Course in Miracles, or I'm going to get through this in a week, or whatever your goal is, or I want to continue to have personal growth. All that is over a period of time. But ultimately, freedom, whatever term you want to call it, is in this very moment. Because what the mind does, it's habitually attaching itself to things. And so the idea that it's a process is a misnomer, because essentially you can be free at any moment, because your mind is constantly selfing, constantly creating this worldview or reality for you in every single moment. It's not a process that you have to peel back the onion. There is no onion, essentially. There is no onion. Great. But in this very moment, the mind is doing what it did a week ago. It's the same thing that it did a year ago. It's the same thing it's going to do ad nauseum. And so that idea of time is you're getting off track if you're thinking it's a process. And then when it comes to space, it's the idea that there's some guru, some enlightened being that has some non-dual awareness, non-attachment, that's somehow different than your experience, that they're somehow better and more at peace. But the peace is always there. It's always all-encompassing. And so even if you think that I can achieve some sort of non-dual pinnacle, the guy down the street, the woman at the store, you're going to see them as not achieving that. And in that recognition or judgment, you're missing the mark. And when essentially non-duality is always there for everyone. And so if you're thinking about it from that perspective, you're moving in the wrong direction. It's nothing that you're gonna achieve or someone else has achieved that you haven't. It's something that is there that we all have. And so that's where A Course in Miracles talks about forgiveness. That's always there, available at all times, because you're always judging yourself or others for not living up to your own personal standards. So hopefully that makes sense. I feel like that was a little bit more succinct. So until next time, peace.